Welcome, everybody. It's Nate, and I am here tonight with quite a treat. We have a lot of interesting people on the line. We're not sure how it's going to work exactly. We are given the limits of rural broadband and NY27 broadband. We're doing our best to hold this together, but I have five amazing young women on the line who are farmers in NY27. We're going to talk about what they do, what they care about. With that, Barry, one of my field organizers. Barry, are you there?
Hi, everyone. I'm Barry. I'm a field organizer with the campaign. I'm also a young farmer in Wyoming County, and I'm really excited to have these farmers with us tonight to engage in a really interesting discussion. It's really great when we can peek our heads out of the boundaries of our farm and build relationships and share our experiences, especially when we are joined by our elected representatives like Nate. And my aspiration for our conversation is that we bring more visibility to the women farmers in NY27, who in so many ways are the future of farming in Western New York and the United States. And we talk about some obstacles and build some solutions with Nate that Nate can then bring to Congress to support us. Because as farmers, I think we experience an incredible weight and pressure because of a lot of systemic issues in agriculture. And it's wonderful when we can pass this weight onto our legislators to make those changes happen.
So Barry, So Barry, you have them on the line. We have some questions lined up for this crew, or they're going to introduce themselves. How is it going to go?
Yeah, so they're going to introduce themselves. Erin, would you like to start off?
Okay. Can you guys hear me okay?
We can hear you. Perfect.
You can hear me. Okay, good. Sorry, I forgot my headphones. So I'm the owner of Wild Hill Farm. We're in Bloomfield, New York, which is Ontario County. I steward about 56 acres organically. In that, we grow 7 acres of vegetables this year using all organic practices. We also have a little bit of fruit we're getting into, and the rest is hay fields. We grow food for 300 CSA member families every week. All these people come from the Rochester and Canandaigua area, and they come to the farm to pick up their vegetables every week. And we do all this with about 6 full-time people, all of which are female this year, so that's kind of fun. I guess that's my 30 seconds, right?
So where are you from again? So I didn't hear the first part.
Bloomfield. It's
Bloomfield. Oh man, down by Naples.
Yeah, it's on the 5 and 20 corridor.
So you can I tell people this all the time. This sounds corny to you. I apologize, but it's amazing if you go there right now and you get out of your car, you can smell grapes in the air. True or false?
False. In my area, you just smell cabbage. Yeah.
Well, but closer to Naples, you can definitely smell Concord grapes.
Yeah.
So is that what you grow? You grow cabbage?
I grow all different kinds of diverse vegetables. Yeah, every kind of vegetable you can grow.
So what's your prime crop?
We don't, because we're a CSA. We are a diversified farm, so we grow like 30 different crops.
Oh my goodness. Well, nice to meet you. Thanks for coming on.
Nate, Cindy, I believe Cindy is one of Erin's CSA members. Cindy is one of our grassroots organizers, and volunteers with us.
Oh, so explain to people what that means, because that acronym is probably unknown to most people listening.
Oh, CSA stands for Community Supported Agriculture, and it basically is a way for farmers to connect directly with the people who are eating the food without going through a middleman.
So you're cutting out the middleman.
Yeah.
All right. Go to the next one, please. Next farmer.
Hi, my name is also Erin Grimley. I run Root Down Farm in Clarence Center, New York, which is a north town outside of Buffalo in Erie County. We are also a 300-member community-supported agriculture farm. So just like Erin, our customers come directly to our farm to pick up their vegetables every week. We're diversified as well. So I always explain it as we grow everything from asparagus to zucchini, as long as it's mostly an annual, but of course asparagus is a perennial. We also have some wholesale accounts, which includes some small grocery stores as well as some restaurants. And I am the majority owner of the business. However, my husband is my best employee. But today I really appreciated it because one of our customers came in and asked him if he's Mr. Aaron.
So this is in Clarence Center.
That's correct.
Oh, wow. Right
Yeah,
here. Not
our
too
land
far
is
from
actually protected by the Western New York Land Conservancy.
Oh, your land is protected by the Western New York Land Conservancy. Helped me do a project when I was the town supervisor, and they do great work.
Yeah.
So you're on protected land that's being used for farming. Is there a name of the land? Is there like did they name it, or was there a benefactor that was involved, or no?
Well, it was previously a very old farm. It was known as the Weeks Farm. And there was brothers that ran a nursery across the street. It was founded in the mid 1800s. So the old farmstead is still here, and the land is mostly intact with some housing lots sold off of it.
Well, how neat is that? I'd love to come visit. It's pretty neat.
Yeah,
Thank you for coming on, Danielle. Right? What was your name again? I'm sorry.
Oh, Aaron. Another
sorry,
Aaron.
I don't know who Danielle is. I apologize. Nice to hear you. Okay. Next, who's next, Barry?
I'm Melissa. I'm from Fallbrook Farms in Geneseo, and we're a woman-owned and operated medicinal herb and mushroom farm. We specialize mostly in traditional Chinese herbal medicine. So we're growing plants to those medicinal formulas, and we do some Western herbs as well. So it's been a lot of fun. It's all regenerative. It's all organic. We have 5 farm interns with us right now that have been learning a lot and helping a lot. So I'm really happy to be here tonight.
So Melissa, and by the way, Barry, I got to say before we go any further, thank you for setting this up. If I sound a little out of sorts, I've been doing other campaign stuff all day. I didn't realize we had such an amazing show planned for tonight. So Barry, thank you for doing that. And Barry's been amazing. And it's great to have another female farmer on our team. So Melissa, you're doing Chinese medicine. Can I ask what kind of stuff?
Yeah, so my mom helps run the farm here, and she is a licensed acupuncturist and herbalist. So she sees patients right here on the farm. She has her clinic here, and then we grow and farm to the formulas that she then gives to her patients, and then we also serve the broader community here in Livingston County.
So, I lived overseas for a long time, and I just tell me if you agree with this assessment. Kind of the way that I've always understood, I guess, Eastern medicine to be is they would describe it as preventative care. Like, my mother-in-law, for example, she's a firm believer in acupuncture. She's a firm believer in what she would call hanyak, but she goes to Western doctor as well for acute illnesses, right? So she's constantly consuming what we would call Chinese medicine, maybe in the States, as a preventative care. And she believes that it is something that helps maintain overall health and well-being. Is that how you would describe it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's really holistic. It looks at the whole body. It looks at your social dynamics, your family dynamics, your mental health, your emotional health, your gut health. So it's very, very comprehensive. And we really, I know I can speak for my mom when she looks at any new patient, she takes into account that whole picture and then works with them to, kind of find the root causes and not just treat the symptoms.
Before I get off this subject, because this is obviously a subject that interests me, do you know, you said a word there that triggered something in me, gut health. Do you know Tom over at Singer Farms?
I do, yes. Singer Farms Naturals and his tart cherry juice, yes.
Tom, man, he has lectured me for hours on gut health. And to be perfectly honest, I'm not sure I still get it, but I love the soups he makes. I got to tell you that.
Yep, I was there. I was there last summer for the Western New York Herbal Conference, and he made us all a gigantic, delicious soup. And then we also heard about gut health.
Yeah, he's a firm believer. What an amazing guy. Anyway, sorry to cut everyone else's time off. Who else is on the line, Barry?
Hi, my name's Laura Colligan. I am a certified organic vegetable farmer. My farm is Dirt Rich Farm. I farm land in East Aurora and in Springville in the south towns of Buffalo. I, like several of the other farmers on this call, do a vegetable CSA. I have 84 members, And I always explain it as I grow everything from arugula through zucchini because I don't have any asparagus established yet. So I started the farm back in 2015 by myself when I was 21 years old. And I've grown the farm, bought land, and now my fiance, who formerly was a chef, has joined me. And so we are growing the farm together now.
How amazing.
And I should also say that I am on the board of the Northeast Organic Farming Association of New York.
That's fantastic. Nice to see you, and I'm glad you're doing it in East Aurora. Who else we got on the line? We have one more person, right?
Yes, I'm Missy Singer Dumars, owner and farmer at Crown Hill Farm in Eden in the South Towns, just south of Buffalo. And I've been here about 4 years. I grow all heirloom vegetables and particularly love unusual varieties of things. And I have a very small CSA serving about 18 families with produce and a handful of chefs. And then I also raise chickens, ducks, and geese for their eggs. And they're all pasture raised, soy free eggs. So, and in addition, I run a Women in Food of West New York. It's been a live stream all season, turning into a podcast.
Well, before we go any further, I'm humbled to have such an array of impressive and interesting people. And, again, thank you to Barry for setting this up. And if I sound a little cold, I did not know what I was getting into tonight. This is great. Barry, who else? Anybody else? You want to go through some questions for the crew?
Yeah, we
Okay.
of course we have women farmers here. So of course one of my main questions for them is, how does being a woman influence your relationship to farming, to the land, to the work that you do in your community? And anyone, feel free to jump on this question. Perhaps Missy, if you'd like to start, because you do operate Women in Food, Western New York, I'd love to hear your answer.
Oh my. Thanks. It's so funny. This is the question I ask all my Women in Food interviewees. So you'd think I have an answer. To me, I think what we as women through generations are keepers of the hearth and hearthcraft. And we are naturally nourishers. I mean, truly, the moment a child is born, the first thing we do is feed them, right? And so I think for me, that commitment to nourishment and community is part of the hearth relationship tending is what I feel like as a woman I bring to the farm and to community. So all the interrelationships between animals, land, people's community, farmers, chefs, etc., as well as the nourishment that could come on all levels, not just from our food.
Awesome. And do we want to hear from maybe one more farmer on this question before we jump to talking about climate change?
We're all a little nervous.
I know.
Okay, let me jump in and break. Can I ask some other questions first? We go to these heavy duty questions. Can I do that?
Yeah, you totally can. Feel free to ask all the
Okay.
questions you'd like.
Well, guys, first of all, are you all from here?
No.
No.
That's
I
okay.
am.
Listen. Western New York has had a plummeting population. If we're gonna bring in amazing women farmers, come all you can. Where are you guys from?
Yeah, we moved here in 2011, and at the time, people were asking us why, and now it seems like more and more people are doing it.
More and more people are moving to farm, or just moving to Western New York?
Moving to Western New York in general.
I think that's true for the city of Buffalo, or at least that's what they say. I'm not sure it's statistically true, but
Yeah.
I can say this: there's at least a younger vibe and energy than there was in previous years, and I think that's great. So where are the other ones from who aren't from here?
I grew up in New Jersey. I lived a number of places and moved here from Colorado and had a desire to have land and grow food and have a friend who's an urban farmer in Toronto. So was looking in this area and looking at the rise of organic food in this region, the rise of interest in farm to table food, the climate here, the region, the affordability. There were a lot of factors. Plus, saw this property and fell in love with it.
So for hundreds, like literally hundreds of years, like I've read articles about George Washington saying how amazing the farmland is in upstate New York, and how I don't quote me on this, but I remember reading a book that he was talking about protecting it because there's going to be fights over it because it was such great farmland after the revolution. But is that true? I mean, I know Barry said to me there's some issues with our land, but it seems our land is rich and beautiful. I mean, my mom has more zucchini in her backyard than she knows what to do with. She could feed an army. I mean, is our land good? And anybody can answer.
As a vegetable farmer, I found, Western New York is kind of challenging because of glaciation. We have a lot of heavy clay soils, and vegetables really like having nice, well-drained land, which is why I think part of the reason we have a lot of dairy farming here. That, dairy farming, I don't think it's quite so critical to have good soil drainage. The reason actually that I ended up buying land in Springville is that that Springville is a place with a lot of really nice, well-drained soil. We got a lot of glacial till here in Springville rather than getting like a lot of clay. But anyways, I think, so the soil as a vegetable farmer presents some challenges, but I do think we have a pretty nice, moderate climate, especially compared to a lot of places. And I think as the climate changes, Western New York comparatively will look more and more attractive for farming.
And that's Barry's point. So is climate change affecting you already? Anybody? How about our farmer in Clarence?
Yeah, this was a challenging year for sure, and it is difficult to make sure to distinguish between weather and climate, because I know it does get confusing for people. But a lot of times, what helped me understand climate change is kind of like erratic weather, or instead of global warming, global weirding. So, for example, this year we had the latest freeze, and I'm not talking about a light frost. I'm talking about a deep freeze that I've ever experienced in my entire life, and I'm from Michigan. Wow. And it was it was like May 20th or something, and things were straight up frozen, not in the field already. We had peppers in the field already. We had all these things that will traditionally, we can safe bet have them in the ground on May 10th. And so then take the, first of all, it was a weird day when smoke from fires on the West Coast arrived in Western New York. But soon after that, we then experienced our earliest frost we have ever had. So it takes this intensely short season that we already have in Western New York, and it shortens it even more by the erratic weather.
Because you could have a major freeze and then a warm up. And listen, I do think we have less snow than we've ever had, but we also have more, it seems to me, anecdotally, that we have more like demonic snowstorms. Like I don't remember as a child having 7-foot snowstorms. And now it seems like, you go ahead.
Oh, and I was just going to say, like, as a farmer, those things affect us too. Like a lot of us are doing season extension with greenhouses, and people have those collapse in major snowstorms. Or like when we have warmer winters or winters with less snow, we then have more pest pressure earlier in the year. So like even at the times when you don't think of things growing, the weather still affects us as farmers and the seasons that we'll have.
So when you talk about this clay, I'm sorry to jump around, and I'm an amateur. I don't know. I try to grow some stuff in my backyard. It's okay. But the clay is from what? You said it's from glacier activity?
Yes. So as I understand it, and I'm sorry, I've been talking too much, and I'll try to make sure other people get a chance to speak. But my understanding is that, as we had cycles of glaciation during the last ice age, lakes would form, glaciers would melt some, lakes would form, and then glaciers would advance again. And a lot of the soil in Western New York is like those lakes that were formed, the glaciers advancing, scraping up the silt on the bottom of those lakes and then depositing it over our land. And so it's just many layers of like lake bottom silt, which on the plus side, if you have something like that, hangs on to nutrients really well. But on the minus side, also hangs onto water really well. And then like if you're having more and more extreme rain events as the climate changes, you can picture like you're having too much rain, and then the water doesn't drain very quickly, and you just have sitting water. And roots of crops really don't like sitting water. And then
Isn't there? There's nobody here from the north side of NY27. We have Bristol, we have East Aurora, we have where else? Clarence is a little closer. Don't we have a lot of limestone too in parts because of the heavy deposits from the lakes that were here that settled, or the oceans that were here that settled? Is that wrong? I've heard that. I heard one of the reasons why we can grow grapes and stuff like that in the Niagara County is because after the escarpment, you have where Lake Tonawanda was, which was an ancient ocean that's settled, and there's that limestone deposit there. Does that sound vaguely familiar to anybody on the line? If you don't know, it's okay. There's no geologist on the line. I'm just personally curious. Go ahead.
I farmed around Rochester on some limestone soils.
Go ahead. I'm sorry again.
Oh, I farm around Rochester, the suburbs of
Okay.
Rochester.
So you know.
There's some good limestone bedrock there, and good pHs and stuff are growing. Right now I'm on a lot of sand and gravel, so I'm on that deposit of glacial sediment. And our problem is a drought year where it doesn't rain at all. We have to irrigate day in and day out. It's the opposite problem of the clay. It just doesn't hold any water.
So there's no drainage. But we have good water, right?
Sorry?
We have all this fresh water here, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this year we had we had the shortest growing season, but also the hottest summer, and we had a drought. And so what people don't realize about the value of rainwater is that energetically, the way it falls is more energizing for the plants, and it also carries with it certain nutrients and minerals that plants really thrive in. So that's why, for example, after it rains and you walk out in your field, everything looks so much more verdant and lush. And irrigation water, again, it doesn't have that same kinetic energy because you're forcing it through these linear tubes or through wobblers, and it doesn't have.
Hello?
Oh, she froze.
She froze.
Yeah.
It looks
But
almost
I could say the water, the availability of water here is one of the reasons why I came here from Colorado, because in Colorado, even if you have water running through your farm or property, you don't have rights to it at all, or it's very expensive. So to me, one of the attractive things in moving here was the availability of water.
When I was in law school, I was recruited by a firm in Albuquerque. And they said, we'll fly you out. Come look. And I didn't even know anything. And I went out, and all they did was water rights. It was the only issue. And I had no idea because I grew up here. I'm like, wait a second, you guys are fighting over water?
Yeah.
And they showed me like what they do. And I was like, I couldn't believe the amount of litigation that was just for small patches of underground wells.
Yeah.
So why did you guys want to do this? Okay, 2 questions. You don't have to answer them, but I'd like to have somebody answer them if they could. Number one, first of all, why did you want to do this? And number 2, are you guys making money? Are you surviving? Go ahead. I'm sorry to be so blunt. I'm just curious because it's gotta be hard.
I think it's so important to be blunt and open source about economics, because I think that it really brings visibility to the fact that farmers are struggling. We work 7 days a week in all sorts of conditions, super hard. It's a lot of not just physical labor, but emotional and intellectual labor. And I think it's important for people to understand that the consequences of not valuing food affect us farmers who are trying to feed you every single day.
Absolutely.
So let's break it up. Why did you want to do this? Just because you had a passion for it? It was like a creative thing, like you loved your heart sung for making things grow. What was it? Was it a book you read? Is there anything that you could tell me?
I'll jump in. I did not grow up ever thinking I was going to be a farmer or around farms or anything like that in New Jersey. I grew up literally with my backyard as a golf course. And in my own personal journey, I dove deep into health and wellness, including food, and moved here to have a farm mostly to feed myself and be able to be in control of my food choices. And through that, it became a business, and business is more my background than farming. So for a lot of farmers, the business part's hard and the farming's easy. I'm the other way around. The business part's the easy part. The farming is my learning curve. So for me, it's just become a passion and a love. And combined with a passion for culinary and a passion for health and wellness, which is why I choose to grow what I grow.
Are you guys all involved in culinary as well, or have somewhat of a love for culinary, or no? Oh, Clarence says no.
No, I got into farming because I had my first job when I was 14, and I was mucking horse stalls. I went to college, loved it, did great, got a business degree, but I love manual labor. It like feeds me. It feeds my soul. I love being outside. And then if I get to feed people along with it, it's great. And building community through CSA, the community supported agriculture, also part of it.
So what does it mean, CSA? Tell me. Like, listen, I know generally, but break it down. What does that practically mean?
It practically means that, so you mentioned about, can you make money farming? What it does is it helps people join and get shares, let's call them, of the farm harvest for the season. Whatever that means is defined by the farmer.
Right.
But it provides income at the beginning of the season. Farmers are usually working their tails off all year long to harvest something that they haven't even sold yet. And then they're going to hope that they can do it.
Right.
So with CSA, you're provided an income, you're guaranteed that income, and your members, since you are building this community, are in it with you, ride or die.
So let's say I live in Rochester. There's the farm from Rochester. If I live in Bristol, there's a farm from Bristol. If East Aurora, there's a farm in East Aurora. I can sign up for your farm by contacting you guys. And I'm going to put all your websites. I hope you have websites. If you do, I'll put them on the page, or Instagram, or whatever you got. They can reach out to you and say, I want 20 onions and 50 zucchinis this year from you. So they're essentially purchasing stock. No, go ahead.
So like the way, oh, sorry, I'm not trying to talk over you. So the way it works is, everybody structures it a little differently, but you prepay, earlier in the year to get a weekly share of the harvest. So for my farm, that means for about 20 weeks, every week you're going to come to CSA pickup. And a lot of farms, depending on the way the farm structures it, either everybody gets the exact same thing. You get like a box or something, and, you get, a butternut squash and a quart of tomatoes and a pint of onions and all various things. Or some farms allow more choice. So the way I structure it is either you get a sampler share and you get 4 items per choice of all the things I've harvested, or a full share, which means it's kind of a take what you want sort of buffet.
So time out. Let me cut in. So some of my friends would do this, and I probably should do it. And here's my pledge to you: I'll sign up for one of these. Okay.
It'll only make you healthier.
Yeah. Well, listen, I need all the help I can get. So what I'm gonna do is but friends of mine do it, and sometimes they'll be like, "Hey, I got like 50 extra squash. You want one?" Is that what's going on? Like sometimes there's a bumper crop.
I think the way to think about it is that you're an investor. So when someone signs up for a membership, they're investing in the farm for the year, whether the farm succeeds or has failures. You're taking the risk as well as the reward. And then throughout the season, you get a payout of whatever's available. And the way different farms organize that payout depends on the farm and the farmer. But that's probably the best way to think about it.
Yeah. Everybody here needs subscribers. Geneseo, you need subscribers too, right?
Sure.
Okay. They need, how would you rather give money to all these corporations and these corporate grocery stores or Walmart? Or would you rather look at these people? They look like nice, good people. I'd rather support them, and I'm going to do it going forward. Okay.
So Melissa, I'm wondering if you could talk about, in terms of generating revenue, the value add that you do with dehydrating and making teas from the fresh products on your farm, because that's another part of the equation. So some farmers sell directly at a market, some do a CSA, and then some add value to their products by processing. And that's what Melissa does.
Right. And it's a big thing, because for so many conventional farmers, prices are set and you know exactly what you're going to get per bushel of corn or soy. And there's a lot of variability in the market still. And it's still a high risk, very hard work. But for any kind of organics, your prices are not always set, and the inputs and the seed can be very expensive. And then with Chinese medicinals, a lot of these plants haven't even been grown in this area before. So, so we're, instead of a germination rate like corn or carrots of 99%, maybe only 25% of our seeds actually turn into plants. So it's just a lot more high risk, and the cost up front can be a lot to handle. But what we can do is then, instead of harvesting on a weekly or several times a week basis, like in a CSA, we have fewer harvests because they're usually herbs, they're perennials, they've been growing for several years before they're mature. But then we'll dry them and process them into either loose leaf teas or powdered teas. We do tinctures, alcohol-based tinctures, glycerin-based tinctures. We do an elderberry elixir sample that's kind of a syrup. So we find ways of preserving and taking these products and making them a value-added product, which we can then combine a bunch of different things into our products and have a more unique offering, and then be able to sell it at a higher price than if it were just fresh out of the field.
Just out of left field, because your subject matter, I read once that Western New York, there were some farmers who got together and they had this scheme where they were going to grow ginseng. Do you know what I'm talking about? Have you heard this?
I haven't, but we do grow ginseng here.
Does it grow here? It does, doesn't it?
It does. It's hard to cultivate. It's really intensely hard to cultivate. In brief, it takes 4 to 5 years to mature, and it only likes wooded, slopey, kind of ravine climates. Yeah. So,
like where you are, Geneseo, not too far away. You have Letchworth and all that kind of stuff. I mean, who knows? Anyway, I got to check out what you're doing. I'm super interested in it.
Great. Thanks.
So,
Barry,
just,
go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to say real quick, you'd asked a two-part question, and I think we kind of tackled the first part, but the second part, are we making money from this?
Yes.
So this is my 6th year in production. This year, I think, we will see how the year ends, but I think we will net about $20,000 from farming, my fiance and I, and we'll work some off farm during the winter. The goal is to be, in the next couple of years, be netting $30,000 or so, and then get by on that and not be working off farm, and continue trying to build, the amount of money that we are making from the farm. But that is just to be blunt about whether we're making it in farming. That's where I'm at.
So hold on. Let me say to everybody out here, because you guys all look so young and vibrant and full of energy. 20,000. Like, if I can, don't get mad at me, but $20,000 a year is a labor of love.
Yeah,
and that's between 2 people, right, Laura? So that's if you divide the income between your fiance, it's $10,000 each.
Yeah, and that's it's stupid.
Words,
we're making way less than minimum wage.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But beyond that, if people subscribe to you, their subscription to you, which could be about not much more than a typical family's Wegmans bill for a week, would make a huge impact for you.
Yeah, like people, it makes a big difference that people are buying directly from me. By buying directly from a farmer, your farmer is getting 100% of the dollar that you are paying, rather than getting a fraction of the dollar when you're not buying directly from the farmer. So getting 100% of the dollar to buy directly from the farmer makes
I'm mad at myself hearing all this. I wish I would have done all this earlier.
Yeah, well, not only that, I mean, it feeds the community too, because when the farmer gets 100% of that dollar, they're going to turn around and use their local suppliers and their local vendors. And so you're actually keeping a lot of the money within our local community. Whereas when you go to a standard grocery store, perhaps the farmer gets 19 cents on the dollar is what I've read, or 14 cents or so. It's ridiculously low, and everything else is going out of state, out of country.
So let me go to my talking point on the campaign trail, and I believe this full-heartedly. Agriculture is a national security issue, and I say this
absolutely.
Like,
yes.
Well, I'm glad you got. So basically, I'll make it simple. If you're not buying your food here, you got to buy it from some other place. And typically, what we do is we buy it from overseas. And so therefore it becomes a national security issue because we have to secure overseas markets to secure overseas sources of food. And therefore you think you're getting a cheaper deal by getting something from Chile or something, but you're really putting our community at risk, you're putting your health at risk, you're putting everything at risk. So is that, you would agree with that assessment or that analysis?
I mean, look at where we were at the beginning of the pandemic. Just having having a food system that is, vertically integrated means that it's very brittle. And, it has one, you have a outbreak of disease at, a couple of slaughterhouses, and that can affect, the food supply for the whole country.
Yeah, and
you guys weren't worried about food shortages ever during this process because you were growing food, right? Like you never thought, well, what if the trucks don't go to Tops or Wegmans?
Right. Well, that was the weird thing about COVID is from day one, it was very evident to most farmers that what was going to change is the distribution of food. Not that all of a sudden, because there's a pandemic, food will not be grown. That doesn't happen. So it was very obvious early on that distribution was going to become a problem. And the people that were plugging the holes were these small diversified farms I had so many grocery stores calling us, and it's March in Western New York, like we're growing pine cones, luckily we harvest produce every month of the year. Right. And I'm talking through the winter, and that's with the use of high tunnels. So March is our thinnest month, but I was selling out of every single thing I had come April, everything. And it was these grocery stores that typically have distribution trucks showing up weekly with what they need. They couldn't get what they needed.
So the biggest thing I want people to take away from this is you need to support local farmers. And the second thing, it's also a national security issue. And we should treat it with the same focus this isn't just some hobby. So let me just talk about my personal experience as a local supervisor. So when I was a local town supervisor, I came into office and my town was suing the local farmers on Grand Island, suing them to put them out of business. And they had some people like you that had smaller patches, but they wanted to go bigger. And the argument was, we're a suburban area, we're not a farm area. And these people are fake farmers because the town only wanted to recognize massive industrial farms. So I said, that's crazy. First of all, it's anti-conservative if you think about property rights. These people have a right to farm on their land. And the second thing is, what the counter argument was, it was going to destroy the quality of life in the town because there's going to be pigs running in the streets, chickens everywhere, and people just having farm stands at every corner, and it's going to be a mess. Thankfully, I was a supervisor. I was able to organize some of the farmers or help organize the farmers, and we got a right to farm law passed. And so, we had started a farmers market, and it was great. And while I was supervisor, it was going really, really well. But the thing I learned from all that is, number one is, what I believe is, farms come in all types and shapes and sizes. And we need to respect the full spectrum of farming. Is that something, am I stating this well? Or do you guys agree with this principle? And if I'm not, tell me. I mean, I believe it's the right thing to do, whether it's your farms that are a little more professionalized and much better, or whether it's some guy who wants to have a couple chickens in his backyard. I'm supportive. I want people to be producing food as much as they can on their own. Talk to me if you can, and if I'm missing some point there.
No, absolutely. The more people that can be providing themselves food, I think that's the kind of future we need to look towards for so many reasons, be it climate change, health, food security, financial security, poverty. I mean, just all the issues.
Yeah, and I take it a step further. You did say this country needs to be able to feed itself. I think that Western New York also needs to be able to feed itself too. It's such an amazing region that grows so much. I mean, the fruits that come from Western New York, you can't grow those everywhere. Like the vegetables, it's just the season makes it that much better. And we have the resources, like we were mentioning, with water and, winters and what have you, to help grow these grow food. And we need to be able to feed ourselves in Western New York.
So let's ask a couple fun questions and I'll leave you guys alone. I'm sorry to keep you on so long. And I'm sorry, by the way, before we started, I had no idea what was going on. So I was trying to set the ground rules. I didn't know I'm sorry. I apologize. Number one is what are you growing currently that you're most proud of? Can I ask that? Can everyone tell me one thing they're growing they're most proud of?
Erin from Wild Hill, do you want to join in on this one?
Oh, I don't know. Right now I'm growing a toddler. Yeah, I've been growing vegetables for like 12 years now, so I feel like I have most of it pretty down pat. It's always a little crazy with the different weather swings, but I don't know. Just having my daughter on the land has been really rewarding this season.
Erin, if you don't mind me asking,
go ahead.
Could you speak to being a woman farmer, having a child, and accessing healthcare as a farmer for yourself and for your family, and what obstacles you face in doing that? We talked about farmers feeding Western New Yorkers, folks in the United States, providing them with nutrition, but farmers often are left out of the healthcare equation. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, no, and I'd love to answer some of the other stuff. I've been kind of silent during the whole conversation, but
yeah, go for it.
I have been making a living. I've been running a CSA in the Rochester area for about 10 years.
Wow.
2 different CSAs, yeah. And I've at least broken even every year. The startup years are always hard, but now I'm in year 5 at this farm. And it seems like the way my budget, I was just looking at my numbers, the way my budget usually works is that I'm right about at the Medicaid limit. So I've been on Medicaid for a couple of years now, and it's great. I have my baby on it, and everything was covered. And before that, when I had to pay for health insurance, it just about drained everything that I made. So similar to Laura, in the 20 and 30,000 range is what I get for my working 70 hours a week all season long. I think, Medicaid is a great program. It does, in a way, it limits the growth of my business because I like to stay under the limit so I can keep my health insurance.
So you didn't have health care, yeah.
Yeah, and I do believe I could possibly make more money, but the only trade-off with making more money is that I can't pay my workers a living wage. So I have a lot of minimum wage workers, and they work their butts off, and they deserve more than minimum wage.
Yes.
I want to pay a living wage, but I also need to make more than they do because I'm the owner of the business. Yeah.
So we're running into this.
Let me ask you a question. Yeah. Number one, it's you raising your daughter on Wild Hill. Sounds pretty idyllic. And I mean, I know you're giving her a wonderful life. I know it cannot be easy working 70 hours a week, but I think it's amazing. And I hope you guys are all documenting your experiences because these are amazing tales, amazing experiences. And I'm glad. What's the podcast again? For the person running the podcast?
Women in Food of West New York.
I'll subscribe today. But Wild Hill, before I go any further on this, so I believe every American should have a right to health care. I believe your decisions about your business should not be interrupted because the fact that you can't afford reasonable health care in this country. It's insane. And I promise you, this is the most important issue to me. I will fight for health care when I go to Washington. And it makes me mad to hear that story and what you just said and how it's going. But just on that point, I don't want to lose this because I visited a lot of farms in NY27. And it seems the more, I don't even know the right term, progressive farms, or I don't know. I don't want to use a word that offends everybody. Kind of hippie-ish farms. I hate to use that word.
Bring it on. The more ecologically forward.
There's a lot of young women working on the farms part-time. Like I noticed from the local towns. And is that just what I've seen, or is that like a phenomenon?
No, this is a thing. This is, small, organic, and, similar sorts of farms. The labor force, is overwhelmingly female at the lowest rung. Then you move into management, it becomes more male, but not necessarily. But then like farm owners are much more male. Like the pipeline, there's lots of us who this is a field that is incredibly appealing to a lot of young women. And I think it's because, my theory is because, and maybe I'm rambling, I'm sorry, but
No, it's good.
I think men are very much socialized to be like, you have to earn money, and whereas women are socialized to be like, do good in the world. And so there's a lot of us who are like, okay, here's a way that I can live my values by farming. And a lot of us want to do this, to be organic farmers, but somewhere along the way, on the road up, there's a lot of us that enter, but it seems like, the ones, it's much more overwhelmingly male are the ones who actually end up being farm owners. But the workforce
I'm telling you, I've been to so many farms where I walked in and I saw like a bunch of young women, mostly young women working, and I always wondered, what the phenomenon was, or if I was just having a very unique sample set. Barry, what do you? Just a quick question, Barry, a little off the subject, but is this a phrase? What is this?
This is like, I support you. I agree with you. Yes, preach.
I thought you were doing money. I was like, sorry, I never saw that before.
It's like a way of clapping. It's like the same thing as clapping, just less noisily.
I see. I got it. I won't do it, but I got it.
But I do want to jump off of Laura's point, because I think that something that we had discussed in preparing for the panel was just our, obviously we are women who are farmers in an overwhelmingly white, male, older space. But even we don't represent the women farmers in Western New York fully, because there are so many migrant and immigrant farm worker women who are out there, and as well as other BIPOC women farmers who are trying to enter the space of farming, and they have even more barriers into farm ownership than we do.
So how many are there, roughly?
I couldn't even tell you, because a lot of farm workers are undocumented and the statistics are unclear, but there's far more farm workers in Western New York than there are owners, operators, and we're seeing an increase in that every day as we lose farmland. Farmers are aging out of the system, and what's happening is we're losing our diversity and number of farms, and we're seeing fewer farm owners and operators, but they're getting bigger and bigger. And what we're seeing with that is a lot of lack of clarity in terms of labor, in terms of labor rights. What we're also seeing are the ecological and economic impacts of these larger corporate farms that aren't serving the local community. There aren't necessarily recycling money back into our local economy.
So Wild Hill, I'm sorry, I cut you off with some comments. Is there some other things you wanted to say? Because I know you were trying to get in earlier. I don't think you had an opportunity.
Oh, one thing burning on my mind is climate change, and we haven't talked much about that, but for me, healthcare pales in comparison to the action we need to take on the climate, because I will survive. I am white and privileged, and like I will get by without health insurance, or I will scramble and do what I can. But when we don't have a planet that's stable to farm on, my daughter can't continue to farm and feed her community. Like, this is the most important thing to me.
Does everybody on the stream agree with that? Climate change is the most important issue? If you don't, tell me.
Absolutely. I mean,
So
if we don't have a
2,
planet anymore,
3,
none of the other issues matter.
4,
It's just,
5.
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. Listen, I agree. It's a threat. I've seen the planet change in my lifetime dramatically. I've seen Western New York change even. But so one of the things they can do to help locally is by supporting your farms, correct?
Yeah. We are actively turning sunlight into food, and then also like taking carbon out of the air and putting it in the ground.
I agree, and I think that that good farming and local farming goes hand in hand with sustainability. It's hard. It's a hard case to make for a lot of people, though. And let's talk. Like, people understand, including myself. I understand the urgency of healthcare, but when you don't have healthcare and you are sick, you feel it. How can we make people feel and understand climate change in the same way?
For me, I'll just jump in again. So I see my CSA as like an educational tool to reach people on their plate 3 times a day. When they're eating food from my farm and they come out to my farm, they pick on my farm, they read my weekly newsletters, and I talk about the winds that destroy, in the frost that destroyed our tomatoes, and they're learning that the climate affects their food and their daily meals. That's, for me, I feel like that's the personal link, and I'm hoping that light bulbs will go off in their heads. And so that's my own personal activism, because I think that reaching people through food is one of the most basic human needs. And then, hoping that some of my more conservative CSA members, I have 400 families this year involved, and maybe some of them will start thinking like, I think this really needs to be addressed because my farmer keeps complaining. I don't know.
Are you guys involved in any of the farming organizations? Do you work with the Farm Bureau? Do you work with Cornell Cooperative Extension? Do you go to the Ag Night in Wyoming County? I do. I don't remember seeing you guys there. Are you involved? Are you part of these mainstream farm organizations? Talk to me about that.
We are members of the Farm Bureau because of workers' compensation. That's the only reason.
So you disagree with a lot of their policies, but
that's correct.
Yeah,
we primarily use Cornell and NOFA, Northeast Organic Farming Association of New York, for a lot of ties to what's going on in the world of farming. But otherwise, without workers' comp, we wouldn't be members of the Farm Bureau.
And, for me, just like, an organization, it's just very hard to, consider giving money to an organization that has done things like come out against raising the minimum wage and stuff. And it isn't like, how much money I'm making, but on an hourly basis, my employees, because of what the minimum wage is, are making more than I am. But I don't feel like my my employees are not the enemy. The enemy is the idea that food should be as cheap as it is in this country. And, I want to build a world where my employees and I can both
survive.
And so to be a part of an organization that's against many of the things that I value is.
But couldn't you change it? Like, look, you guys I'm just throwing an idea out there, because I've spent a lot of time with those folks, and I have blunt conversations with them. First of all, I say to them, like, I've been for farming my whole life. My family were farmers, 7 generations in Western New York. And, because I'm a Democrat, even if they like me personally, they don't want to talk sometimes. But at the same time, I know they're good people. And like when I go to the ag dinners, I have a blast. And it's so much fun to be around them and talk to them. Look, I see 6 powerful women who are all local farmers. You could run the show. No, sorry to put the pressure on you, but I'm just saying.
Yeah. No, I think that a lot of us do have leadership positions. For example, Laura has a leadership position with NOFA New York. I do work with National Young Farmers Coalition. A lot of us do this work in spaces that we feel comfortable, as young farmers, as women farmers, as diversified farmers. And I think it's also important to realize that, yes, we do have responsibility as farmers to advocate for ourselves, and our consumers have responsibility to support us. But I think, Nate, someone like you who's going to be an elected official, you also have a responsibility to us. You've heard our obstacles, our successes, our concerns, and having you as a leverage point in Congress to make the structural change such that we can access healthcare, we can mitigate climate change, and we can actually make a living while supporting the economic viability of our communities. And all of that, there's stuff that we can do personally, but a lot of this is systemic and structural and needs to be addressed through legislation and appropriations to existing and new programs.
Totally understand. Let me say this, but this is my promise to all of you. First of all, this isn't puffery. We have a very good chance to win in this district where Trump won by 30 points. Barry knows, she's working on the campaign. We are this close. We've been this close twice. And if you guys get your friends and family out to vote, we'll flip it. Now, you can see just by being on this podcast with me, I am not perfect. I am flawed just like the rest of us. I am not a perfect person. but I'm humble enough to know where I have my gaps and where I can learn. And there's a heck of a lot in this subject where I can learn. And I believe as a representative, I am going to Washington to represent. And I will use that opportunity to represent the things that you care about. I'll be your tool, or the vehicle to voice your concerns to the greater nation and to fight for legislation you care about. And this is a starting point in that conversation. I hope we can have more conversations. But I want you to be successful. I want your families to be happy. I want you to have a country that you're proud of. I want this to be something that we can work on together. And eventually, when my term ends, someone, maybe one of you wonderful people, will replace me and continue that legacy so we can continue to fight for Western New York. So is there anything everybody here would like to end with? Any final point? I would like to say your farms one more time, and maybe we can do this again. And I'm so proud to do this. You have to understand the life I'm living right now. I can barely remember my name. So this was very much overwhelming, like a sensory overload for me. But let's do it again in the future. Barry, thank you so much for setting it up. But could everybody just go through one more thing they want us to end with and tell me their farm? Barry, why don't you?
Do y'all want to do it in the order that you introduced yourselves in?
Sure. My name is Erin Bullock, and my farm's Wild Hill Farm in Bloomfield, New York. And I don't know. What am I supposed to say?
That's good. Go to Wild Hill. If they want to get a hold of you, Erin, how do they get a hold of you?
Oh, wildhillfarm.com.
Wildhillfarm.com, and they can sign up right now to be part of the farm. No, they can't. When can they sign up?
Oh,
sorry,
well,
Erin.
We have a huge waiting list, actually.
Oh boy. Oh well, check it out anyway.
Stay tuned, though. Follow us on
Do you
Facebook.
do any educational things with the community? Like have kids come and visit? Any of you guys do any of that?
Yes.
So maybe if you're a local teacher in Bloomfield and you want to visit the farm with your students, wear some masks and go visit the farm, right? How about that?
Yeah.
Good. Okay, next one. Thank you, Wild Hill.
Yeah, my Erin Grimley at Root Down Farm again in Clarence Center. We also run a CSA. We do have a 3-year wait list at this point, but you could go to our website, www.therootdownfarm.com, and get on our wait list. And you did ask about what I'm proud of growing, and we are growing future farmers, and I'm very proud of that.
Oh, Root Down Hill. Root Down
Farm.
It's a good name, Root Down Farm.
Thank
you. I'm going to go visit Root Down Farm. Do you mind?
Not at all.
Okay, I'm going to go. It's right around the block here. I'm going to not right now. Don't worry. I'm going to
just look for the huge white barn.
Root Down Farm, man, in Clarence Center. We need you. People don't realize this. People think Clarence Center is all just like hoity-toity. It is. People in Western New York don't realize we are in farm country. A lot of people that live in Buffalo or Rochester. This is. You go 10 minutes and you are deep in rural New York. And, Clarence Center is, for example, Clarence Center, a lot of people would never think there'd be farms right there. It's full of farms. It's saturated with farms. And I can't wait to see yours. Root Down Farm.
You got it.
Okay.
And I'm Melissa Hughes, and I'm from Fallbrook Farms in Geneseo. And I'm just so proud to, consider myself in this group of incredible women. And I'd say to everyone out there, vote with your dollars and support local farms and support people who are doing such incredible regenerative agriculture, like all of these ladies here. And you can find us at Fallbrook Farms NY on Instagram and at fallbrookfarms.org.
Hey,
and the little fruit stand.
And the little fruit stand.
Where's the little fruit stand?
It's on our farm. It's our little general store where we sell all of our teas and tinctures and some other local goods from our farmer friends.
I'll be in Geneseo soon. Can I visit?
Absolutely.
So let me say this to everybody out there. Whoever runs my Instagram page, can someone like all of theirs? Thank you. And by the way, Torrin is setting this up at home. Torrin, thank you for doing this. It's amazing. So you did a really good job. Melissa, thank you. I'm super interested in seeing the farm. Well, we're not going to close off. Don't worry. I'm just
Sorry.
Make sure I show my appropriate appreciation. Next, please.
Anyways, my name is Laura Colligan. My farm is Dirt Rich Farm. You can.
Names.
I started coming up with farm names when I was 16. I started a list, and when I went to start my farm, this was one of the names I wrote down when I was 16 years old. So it was the clear winner. Anyways, I have a CSA. There's CSA pickup in East Aurora, Springville, at the Hamburg Farmers Market and Kenmore Farmers Market. You can also shop and buy our stuff at those farmers markets, even if you're not a CSA member. And we also do a little farm stand on our farm. And I want to say thank you so much, Nate, for fighting the good fight in the most Republican congressional district in the state. It's really exciting to, have a contested race. And, if we don't run candidates, we are leaving potential, seats on the table. So,
can I say one thing about that? It's not only important to run candidates, it's important to run candidates that share our values. And you guys in NY27 fighting for what you believe makes my job way easier. It makes it way easier to fight for what I believe. Not to be said a pun, but you are seeding the ground for either our victory or a victory of some other candidate that shares your values. So thank you for doing that. And by the way, are you guys all at local farmers markets? No. Okay. Some of you are. Gotcha. But I've been to the Hamburg Farmers Market lots. I'll look for you next time. And Barry, tell them where you're from too. Barry, before we go to the last one.
Well, we have Missy next, and then I'll go. Does that sound okay?
Sorry. Missy, go ahead.
That's all right. I'm Missy Singer Dumars, and my farm is Crown Hill Farm in Eden, down in the South Towns, right near Hamburg. And we have CSA as well as soy-free chicken, duck, and goose eggs. And I'm the hostess or creator of Women in Food of West New York as well. And yeah, I'm mostly very grateful for this opportunity and for meeting you, Nate, as well as all these women that I feel like I've known of and heard of and met in passing, but to spend some time together has been a great gift. And I love meeting other women in our food community always. So grateful for this opportunity.
If I win, we're going to have a yearly conference, Women in Farming, at one of your farms.
It's already in the plan for 2022. Let's get it going on.
Let's do it. No, I want to do it. And listen, I won't even talk. I'll just sit in the audience and watch you guys.
It's already in the works.
So, but by the way, young lady, I can't remember your name. I'm sorry.
Missy.
What's your name? Missy. Missy, your husband's a culinarian?
No.
Who said their husband's a culinarian? Somebody on here.
My fiance.
Oh, your fiance. What's he cooking?
So right now he is just farming with me, but last winter he was doing the wood-fired pizza at West Rose, which is a farm-to-table restaurant in Ellicottville, and he's probably going to work there again this winter.
Got it. I love food, and I worked in that industry for a while. I had to ask.
Yeah,
I always try to highlight farm-to-table, and everyone says they're farm-to-table, but 99% are fake.
Yeah.
Oh no, West Rose is the real deal. Go check them out.
Anyways, he fell in, he went to the Culinary Institute of America, and they really emphasize the farm to table stuff there, and that's what shaped him into the person that was a perfect partner for an organic vegetable farmer. So I'm super grateful for his background and education.
So it sounds great, and I will check out the restaurant. So Barry, you're last.
I'm last. I'm Barry. Again, I'm a field organizer with the Nate McMurray campaign, and I'm also starting a farm in Wyoming County called Healing Poem Farm. And I am just so grateful and humbled to have you all share your experiences here in this really important space to enhance the visibility of the really hard work that we do. And I'm hoping that this is just the beginning and that we'll have further collaboration and build relationships, and also build relationships with more diverse farmers of color, and have them lead conversation that we can support them in their advocacy to achieve a really sustainable and equitable and economically viable future for farming and food in Western New York.
Hey, Barry,
with your help, Nate.
No, Barry, with your help. I keep praising you on this because you deserve it, and our team thinks the world of you. And you are a new addition, relatively speaking, but you have been amazing. Or as Austin says, you're crackerjack, as he told me the other day. Yeah, I'll give you this.
Yeah,
you're crackerjack, and if we win, you're going to come with us to Washington, and you're going to help make me a better congressman. Okay? I hope you do. If you don't want to, it's okay, but I really hope you do.
I'd like to stay here with the farmers.
Yo, it's fine. Just make sure.
I'll be your agriculture liaison.
Make sure I'm up to date on everything.
I can do that for you.
Well, thank you guys. I'm sorry to take so much time. It was so many people. I want to make sure everyone had their say. If you need me for anything, please tell Barry. She can get a hold of me anytime. I'm super grateful. We are going to push your farms because I want people to see who you are and get to know you better. And I'm grateful for what you're doing. And some of you have been doing this for a decade. It's amazing. Never take it for granted. I think, to be honest with you, 99% of the people in the world probably pretty jealous of what you're doing. And I know it's hard, but it's amazing. You're writing your own stories in a way that's inspiring. So thank you for having the time to come on tonight. And I can't wait to eat your delicious vegetables and fruits.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Good night.